This podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice or mental health care. Please seek help from a trusted counselor or call or text 988 if you are in crisis.
Welcome to All Start, where we share our story, listen with compassion, and connect through our faith and mental health experiences. Following this story, Morgan and I will offer insights that connect faith and mental health. We invite you to practice listening and understanding during this episode, so that when someone shares their story with you in real time, you'll be ready. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's start this journey together. Hey guys, welcome back to All Start. Today's episode is our season 2 finale. And it's hard to believe another season is about to wrap up, but here we are. We are so incredibly... We did! We did it! It's a miracle! We are so incredibly grateful for our storytellers and also you, our listeners, and we're just so glad that you're here.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us today. Our format is going to look a little bit different than usual. Instead of sharing just a single story, we are going to take time to reflect on the season as a whole, talk about the stories that we heard, what stayed with us, and what these stories asked of us as listeners and hosts.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not doing a highlight reel, right?
Mm-hmm. No.
Right, okay. Just checking.
Not a highlight.
Okay, good. Yeah, so this is probably more of a pause or like a chance for us to slow down and kind of figure out what didn't resolve neatly and what maybe is still unfolding in some of these stories, right?
Yeah, because I think if you're listening and some of these stories from this season, they're kind of still with you, I think that's okay, because this episode that we're going to do right now is kind of going to meet you there in that, hey, not all of this has resolved and I still have questions, or there's still like an emotion hanging after an episode I listened to, that kind of thing. So this episode will have all three of us today. I am Heather, and I bring a clinical and mental health lens. And then Morgan is here with a theological perspective.
Hello. And
Fred is our producer, and he's reflecting on the listening and the editing process behind some of the scenes and stories.
Absolutely, I am.
Yes, you are. So glad you're here, Fred. We would sound horrible without you.
It's always fun to have Fred on the mic with us.
Oh, it is.
I try.
So I just want to say, I think one thing that this season asked of me was definitely patience. Like as a host, as a listener, I think there were some moments when it was pretty clear to me that the direction we could go with a guest story, like those directions were infinite. I think the interviews that we had, they were really full. I think sometimes they were really heavy. And yeah, I think that they were really rich with just a lot of vulnerability and bravery that you would expect from All Start. But I had this instinct, I think, to explain something really quickly. More to like rescue myself, or I think rescue the listener a little bit. And I realized that if I did so, if I explained too soon, that it would risk drawing attention away from the heart of All Start, which is that we are here to share our story, but also to listen, not necessarily to solve things or wrap them up with a bow, but to listen. So,
yeah, and that can be challenging. And these stories definitely asked us to stay present without teaching, right? To listen without jumping to that meaning or that conclusion. And that can be really uncomfortable, especially when, there's pain without any clear answers in that.
I think from like an editing standpoint, there was a few times where I just had to sit with it for a minute, not because it was like I had some brilliant insight, but really, I felt like it needed some more space over anything else.
Yeah, sometimes I would go back and, I don't know, listen to the interview or something and just kind of like sit and pause with what I just heard and kind of try to find meaning in it. And Fred, I know from like a producer standpoint, you put a lot more pauses between different aspects of the person's story just to give the listener.
You got to take a beat sometimes.
You do. Yeah. And I think our listeners need a beat too. And so I think that the stories this season, they really carried a lot of weight and they didn't land all at once. And that means that some of the emotions and some of the feelings that were associated with them lingered. And so I just want to say, like, if you found yourself pausing an episode to kind of take a breath or needing to come back to it later or feeling a little unsettled afterwards, that it makes sense that we felt that way too sometimes.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I think listening to these types of stories, it is not passive. Like it asks something of us. And I think sometimes that can be, just to be quiet, to sit with tension, which is, not easy to do. And I think even just to admit that, we're uncertain about what to do with what we have just heard. And all of these things happen in real conversations as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that, that happens in real life, not when you're just listening on a podcast, but when you're sitting across from someone sharing their story. And, as a clinician, that was challenging, but in a good way, because it was a reminder that, presence comes before clarity. And that I think creating meaning, that comes later. So not rushing people toward understanding can actually take something away from the process. Yeah. Or if we rush people towards trying to understand their story, then we take something away from the process. Yeah. That's what I meant to say.
Well, I love what you said, the presence before clarity. That's so good. Because several stories this season did not end with clarity or closure. And I think it's important to name that as intentional. It's not incomplete.
No. And I think in real life, that's how healing unfolds anyway. It unfolds slowly. And sometimes it doesn't come in the way that we expect it to. We heard that across multiple stories this season. So,
yeah, I think as we were listening through things and trying to choose what to keep and what to take out, I think the space spoke louder in some of those cases. Not having to create some kind of story resolution in it. But it felt truer.
More true?
It felt more true to the story.
I agree. And I think there's something important about letting a story remain unfinished, kind of like the conversations that happen in real life, because in doing so, it honors the reality that many people are still living inside the questions that they have.
And we saw that again and again this season. These weren't stories about the before and the after a mental health struggle. They were stories about what happened during them.
Yeah.
So as we look across the season, something else that became really clear, almost every story included moments of genuine loss or some sort of disruption, and harmful words were something that kept coming up. And it's not always what you would think, what people might think of when they hear the word trauma, right? But I still think that these moments, they changed how someone saw themselves, how they saw others, and how they saw the world.
Yes. We heard about bullying, about loss, about relationships breaking. We heard about bodies and minds reaching their limits. And just these stories where something painful didn't just happen and then go away. Like, it stayed.
Yeah. In Dustin's story, he shared about how the bullying that he experienced as a middle schooler, it really ruined his self-esteem. And he even shared how the death of his grandmother really impacted his family. And then I remember Hannah, she talked about losing her father and how that just intensified the symptoms that she was experiencing and already trying hard to manage with her OCD. And then as we fast forward, Victoria, she described how she was transferring schools, and that meant that she was losing community. And then how that loss, it just deepened her depression and her anxiety and some dark thoughts that she was having. Adam named how a miscarriage forced him to really face head on some mental health struggles that he couldn't ignore them anymore. That was really powerful. And then Daniel also shared about how bullying and broken relationships and comparison led him to seek help for the first time. And then Michelle, we finished up with Michelle's story, and it talked about carrying this weight of what she had witnessed serving Ukrainian refugees, and then also after she returned home. I mean, this was a heavy season, you guys, if we
really
look at
was.
it.
Yeah, all different stories, different details, but the reality was it's all shared realities. These were moments that would leave a mark on somebody.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what happens with trauma. With trauma, it isn't just about the event itself. It's always about what stays with us. It's the memory, it's the body response, it's the meaning that we make from our experience or what happened to us or what we observed. And healing doesn't mean that we erase all those memories.
Right. There is a biblical concept that we have talked a lot about, and we want to share that with you. It comes from a Hebrew word, which is Manasseh. And Manasseh is often translated as to forget. And it comes from the story of Joseph, which is in Genesis chapter 41. But Joseph called the name of his firstborn son Manasseh. And he said, God has made me forget all my hardship in all my father's house. And, if you're familiar with the story of Joseph, he faced incredibly difficult hardships. And some of those hardships were at the hand of his family.
Yeah. It's Joseph's story is pretty incredible when you think of Manasseh. But to forget, it doesn't mean that we erase our memories because that's impossible. We cannot erase our memory, right? But it doesn't mean that we pretend that it didn't happen or we pretend that it didn't hurt. The facts are still there. The emotions can still be named.
Right, but what changes is that sting. Then the past is no longer experienced as if it's happening in the present.
And that's exactly what we ask our guests to do here, to tell their story as they remember it, to feel real emotion, to really step into what they remember, not really to relive the pain, but to speak from a place where the present, it has a voice too.
Yes, and I think that's how we help those who are in the midst of the struggle that they face. And Manasseh, it separates that pain of the past from the hope of the present or what's to come, because it allows both to exist without one canceling the other.
And it's called integration in a clinical setting. Being able to tell the story without your body reacting as if you're back inside the story. It's being able to remember without being overtaken by it.
Yeah, and that takes time. That kind of healing doesn't happen spontaneously.
No, it happens through sharing with people we trust, by being understood and being heard, through receiving support and care, and often mental health treatment, but through time and through gentleness.
Yes, I think just when someone sits across from you and stays there, when your story is met with listening rather than explanation, which can be, again, such a reflex to jump to.
Yeah, so that's why we slow down here. That's why we resist rushing towards the next season or the next thing or the next story, because listening well creates the conditions for Manasseh. Not forgetting the story, but lessening the sting of the pain.
Yeah.
So I think that this season challenged some of my instincts. There were moments where I wanted to move towards tools and understanding, and I really had to just sit with the reminder once again, over and over, right? That presence comes first. So
Yes. And I think from a faith perspective, this season held a lot of tension, really, really trusting God without easy answers and just sitting with, stories of suffering without any shortcuts.
I think on this side of things, the production side, I found myself finding times where it was really more. I found myself editing and listening where using the silence was more important in the moment. Doing letting the emotion of the moment breathe, and trusting that you as the listener was going to stick with it.
and that's really hard, because we want to there are pauses in people telling their story, and there's a moment where they're emotional, and I'm sure from a production standpoint, Fred, that's really hard to not want to just skip to the next thing they say or help the listener kind of move forward. And so leaving those pauses, leaving the emotion, leaving those things, that's I don't know. Yeah, we are trusting the listener to stay with it, and not trying to resolve it for them emotionally. And that's what storytelling is all about. It's not fixing it or people. It's about honoring what they've lived, and the process of them sharing their story. Yeah. Do you want to have a brief conversation about what's coming next before we close out? Obviously, we have more guests lined up.
Season 3 is in the works.
It is. I think we can. I want to keep some things I don't want to reveal all of our season 3, but I do think I can say just from a thinking perspective of looking at each story that in the first 2 seasons, we've given kind of an overview of someone's mental health journey. When did it start and what does it look like now and what's been your experience? And I feel more season 3 being a really zoomed in view. So tell us about, the day that this happened, or really getting details on just one story in the big picture. So we get more detail and we get kind of a day in the life of a person kind of thing.
Ooh, we get some tea this next season.
Yeah.
I don't like tea, but I'll drink it.
I love tea. Iced tea.
I have tea right now.
Yeah.
But I think the really honing in on, a day or doing a deep dive can really shed some insight. And I think the connections that we can have with that, the normalization of those who have similar struggles or are in similar circumstances can be really helpful.
Yeah. And I just want to say, if we're feeling that there were moments where it didn't resolve, imagine getting, the day in the life.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to necessarily wrap it up, but we can have a snippet of this day. This is what was going on. And this is what you can do if you have a day like that too, or things like that. I think it could be fun to have some guests come on, not as storytellers, but as people to help us process from a biblical standpoint, from a mental health standpoint. I see some bonus content in our future.
Yeah.
Anyway, going to be fun. Can't wait.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. Those are all great ideas. We also have a survey that we're asking our listeners and just friends, personal ask to kind of give us some feedback. What you liked, and we'll put that on our social media. If people want to give us some positive and
Heather didn't say meat suit this season.
I didn't. No,
we missed out on that.
I didn't. We should go back and try to find that episode because it was a real gem. Yep. And I don't think, we pronounced Manasseh correctly this.
I did.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, I really am impressed with your diction and
I'm too nervous to say it.
So first season, we just couldn't say a lot of words, okay? It's a struggle. And, we've learned to hydrate.
Yeah.
We've learned to practice.
We have learned so much. Pronunciation of difficult biblical names.
Yes, that's correct. So,
Man,
anyway.
I can't do it. I'm not going to do it.
It's been
I didn't get it right. It's the first time.
Fred, we need you. You're the only one who can say it correct.
I didn't say what?
Lazarus.
What was
Lazarus.
Oh,
Lazarus.
that wasn't bad.
Hey.
Okay, so I think Fred pointed out I wanted to say Nazareth.
Oh,
do
that
it.
one. Yes.
Lazarus.
Lazarus.
Now I can't say the other
Lazarus.
one. But what's the town?
Nazareth. Nazareth.
Manasseh.
So confusing.
Manasseh. This
Manasseh
is
from those
hard.
words.
Okay, this is hard. But we've really learned 2 seasons, and we can say words like Manasseh, you guys. And that's beautiful.
It is.
Oh, it really is. Anyway, so as we close out this season, we again, honestly, we want to say thank you to our guests, to every person who shared their story this season, who trusted us with something deeply personal. We don't take that lightly, so thank you so much.
Yes, it means very much to us. And we are also so grateful for you, our listeners, for showing up, for listening with care, and for staying present with stories that did not offer easy answers.
So, if you want to catch some of the earlier episodes, go back to season 1 to catch up on anything you missed. Both seasons are available wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify. We're on YouTube. Go to YouTube and we'll listen to them there. We got to get our analytics up there probably. Mm-hmm. But anyways, all the places, including the socials.
Yes, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at All Start Podcast, where we share reflections, we throw out some behind the scenes moments, and updates about the show.
We're on X too. Do you do anything on X?
Oh, X is its own beast.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, it really is.
It is.
It's like a whole, and Threads, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, but that's kind of connected to Instagram
But
too, right?
but it's a different, listen, you don't just post what you want to post.
It's like X. Yeah, I get it.
It's like just one short thought that's like, I don't know, out there, and then people, it's a variant of X. I sound like
Facebook
a millennial right now, but anyway, yes, technically we are on X and on Threads.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah, I try. Okay.
It's fine.
We're doing great, you guys.
It's the closing.
We're
off the rails.
so good. Long story short, however you follow us, we are so thankful for you being a part of this community, for listening well, for staying with what's unfinished, and we will meet you again when it is time for another season of All Start.
Bye.